Something is very wrong in this country, and I don't really mean this politically. I actually mean this psychologically. Welcome back to another episode of the Can We Talk About It podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the psychological undoing of America and how they are abusing us and desensitizing us at the same time via the Epstein files. I have thought about this for many, many weeks, and I want to start by saying, notice the pattern. They started by giving us drip, 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 drip of murder, right? Murder on the subway, murder at track meets. And then they ramped it up with the ICE agents. And then they ramped it up again. They said, let's sprinkle in a little bit of fraud here in Minnesota. And by the time the Epstein files came out, we were psychologically undone. We had been desensitized and we have no desire to fight back. The most outrageous, prolific, vile, violent information just came out about our celebrities, and we basically don't have a response. Nothing is being done. What we are living through is actually mass psychological overload. I think we thought for a minute that this is just like chaos and division and corruption and it's red versus blue. But this is not about left versus right, and it's certainly not red versus blue. What we are experiencing and what we are seeing right now is what prolonged exposure to trauma does to the human nervous system. We are being abused and desensitized at the same time. And that is why, for some odd reason, we can be up in arms about an ICE agent killing a human being, which is violent, but have zero reaction as a country. There is nobody protesting the Epstein files. Can you imagine? There is nobody in front of UCLA saying, fire that medical doctor. There is nobody in front of the White House saying, kick out XYZ. There is nobody in front of Obama's mansion or the Clintons' mansion calling for their arrest. Nobody. But that's literally what happens when trauma is constant. This has been happening since 2020. It's constant. It's unresolved, and it's coming from all sorts of directions. We're getting it on TikTok. We're getting it on the news. We're getting it on X, and we're getting it from government, then from celebrities. And it's actually too much for us, but this is intentional. We are being purposefully and psychologically undone through desensitization. This is not random. Do not think that this is random. We are being repeatedly exposed to abuse without relief. Let me explain to you guys what I mean by without relief. If you have a dog, you know that if your dog bucks up with another dog, and they're like, boo, 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 right? And then the dogs walk away from each other. My dog will shake himself off and then move on about his day. That's actually the relief part. Most of us are sitting and scrolling and listening and watching and hearing information that is very violent, right? They assassinated Charlie Kirk in front of our face. And we're hearing this and seeing this, and we get no relief. We don't go to a therapist and process it through our bodies. A lot of us don't work out. We don't actually go through any kind of relief. And they know it. So they started with these violent encounters with the state agents, right? The ICE agents. And then they did the killing of the subway, and Charlie Kirk was before that. So we were already kind of on edge, politically as a country. We were just kind of off. And in the past, each of these things on their own would have stopped the country, right? We would have been frozen in time, right? If we had heard 10 years ago that millions, potentially billions of dollars we were being defrauded of that money as a nation, which is what's happening in Minnesota, and the lawmakers are complicit, we would have been outraged. If we had seen 10 years ago someone being murdered on a train, we would have been outraged. But people were mad for 5 minutes and then they moved on with their lives. It barely holds our attention for 24 hours. Not even. I think it's 5. And to me, I fell victim to this where I said, these people don't care. But I realized that they are being purposefully, neurologically overwhelmed. The news media understands the power of the mind. And so they said, let's flood them. And so by the time we release the Epstein files, nobody will have the energy to care. And that's exactly what's happening. They have their celebrities out talking about ICE. Y'all are not mad about children being abused. You're more mad about the first thing that they told you to be mad about. And to be honest, I think it's the lesser of the two evils. But that's how they got us. They said, oh, we're going to bring down the temperature. We're going to raise the temperature on the ICE issue so that by the time we bring out the Epstein files, you've been fighting mad for too long. You don't have the energy. And I think here's something that we don't realize or understand about trauma. The brain was not designed to stay in a constant state of outrage. I don't know about you, but I can't be fighting mad for more than like an hour. Like can't be fighting mad for more than an hour. And I think that's true of most human beings. And what makes this even worse is that we're seeing this without any justice. Like, think about the fact that most of these Somalis in Minneapolis, they're roaming free. Yeah, their car got repoed, but the damage has been done. They've already sent millions and millions of dollars back to their country. If they wanted to go back and live lavishly, they could. Right? The man who killed that girl on the subway, we haven't heard a single thing about it. The Epstein files, there has been no retribution whatsoever. So here's what's happening. We are watching all of these crimes be committed with no justice, no safety, no sense of control. And guess what? We think it's fine. But what it's doing is it's training us to actually feel unsafe. When we subconsciously watch people commit crimes and they do not suffer the consequences, we actually feel less safe. And that is the perfect time for the government to swoop in and say, let me help you. I'm the government. I'm here to help. This is how abuse works. We shut down. And this is not like the Charlie Kirk assassination did not do it. The train shooting did not do it. The George Floyd incident did not do it. It was like a death by 1,000 paper cuts. That is what's happening. And when you realize that's what's happening, then you can respond logically instead of emotionally. We are watching violence, corruption, institutions fail us. And we're watching the rules apply to regular people, right? Can you imagine, we see people every single day being arrested for these, to catch a predator. But the elites, nobody cares. We're expected to just keep functioning, go to work, pay your bills, scroll, repeat. That is exactly what they want. We are all in fight or flight, and we are all in survival mode. And they have psychologically trained us to still vote red or blue, no matter the circumstances. This is an experiment. This is an experiment. Will these people ever be angry enough to buck the system? Will they? So they tested us. They said, okay, again, let's give all this trauma and then let's give the Epstein files. Documented evidence of wealthy, powerful people who were globally celebrated, celebrities who are clearly and evidently involved with the sexual abuse of minors. There should be wall-to-wall investigations. There should be protests. The culture should have ruptured. People should have been raging in the streets. What do we get? We got memes. Silence. We are emotionally depleted. And the elites are testing. This is the most dangerous part about this, though. We are paralyzed, actually. We know that something is wrong with our country, but deep down inside, we actually don't believe that our actions will matter. And in fact, we do this like performative thing. I'm really like annoyed with all this performative marching, you guys. I can't stand it. This performative protesting that we do, where we like, I don't know about you guys, but in all over the West Coast, people are walking, the kids are walking out of school and protesting ICE. Baby, protest the fact that children are being abused every single day. Do that. Protest that. No, they want to protest something that looks good on the outside. They don't want to protest evil. Protest that. They cannot. They will not. Something is very wrong with our country when you are more concerned about criminals being deported than the sexual abuse of children. And I'm sorry, but that is actually the fine line. Yes, some people who are being deported by ICE are actual citizens of the United States, but they are adults. They are not being abused by the people who are supposed to be protecting this country. They're not. I'm sorry, but that is just on the whole, that is not what's happening. And to pretend in their performative marching like they're actually doing something. Oh, did you march? It was like the stupid black square. Did you put a black square? I'm so righteous because I put a black square. No, you've done jack crap for the children and the women who are consistently being abused by the people that you keep putting into office. You keep voting for people who abuse children. And then you justify it by saying, well, that's a system we have. They got us. They got us. We have learned that repeated outrage changes nothing, but we do it for everyone else. We want everyone else to watch us do our performative outrage. So we do these things where we get online and we say our things and we go home and we still vote for the same people. And I get it. Our brains are trying to protect us from this emotional energy. That's what's happening. Our brains are trying to protect us. So they're shutting down. They're saying, you can't keep doing this. You can't be outraged because last time you were outraged, nothing happened. And we're right. Nothing happened. And they fatigued us right on time. We were supposed to organize. We were supposed to demand justice for Jeffrey Epstein. We are too tired. So we're scrolling. We have Ben Shapiro justifying Jeffrey Epstein, saying, don't look into the files. Don't do that. And this is what happens. I used to say this when I was training people for my last job. I would say, if everything's an emergency, nothing's an emergency. And for the United States, if everything is a crisis, nothing is a crisis. And so what they've done is they've created crisis after crisis, false crisis after false crisis after false crisis. They emotionally riled you up and say, get angry about ICE, get angry about this fraud, get angry about this. And then boom, when the Epstein files come, don't be angry so that we can keep doing what we're doing behind closed doors. Well, now it's in plain sight. And I'm not calling for violence or chaos. I'm just saying recognize what's happening. Like you actually don't need to be violent. The best thing that you can do is actually pull your vote. We are experiencing a mass trauma and it's changing our behavior. We don't even have like decent attention spans anymore. We don't have proper memory. And part of me wants to call this a moral failure, but I know that some of this is moral failure and some of this is psychological injury. Our society cannot and will not remain healthy, neither morally nor mentally, if we are in a perpetual state of chaos overload. And we have to wake up to this pattern in order to break it. We have to understand that this is not accidental. They are purposefully desensitizing us so that the greatest crimes that they are committing will continue to like sit in the background and we can worry about these petty little things. I'm sorry, but petty little things like ICE protests. Yes, you should be more outraged that our government is using the border to smuggle children for trafficking. Yes, you should. There is a moral high ground there. If you're feeling tired or numb or angry, detached, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. You are actually responding to an abnormal environment. This is the environment that we've been placed in. And the question is whether or not we are going to admit that we are in this state before it becomes permanent. We have a choice. If you made it this far into the video, please leave a comment so that this gets pushed into the algorithm. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys in the next one.